Hello and welcome to the Rat Nest Podcast, episode 40 and change.
Something?
With Tallboy.
Yo,
hey!
What up, dude?
What up, dudes? Good to see you again.
Real good seeing you again, man. Thanks for being here with us.
Yo, just on that, I forgot that you got your damn palm tattooed with the Jim Phillips hand, or like the screaming hand. That's insane.
That's great.
It didn't feel great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like you've been tattooed a bunch, but like, is the palm like just the worst? Does that shit suck?
Yeah, aside from the tip of my penis, that probably hurt the most. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I don't have that yet.
Do you have anything on your ribs?
No.
No. That I have like a one outline piece, like just something simple, and that one hurt the fucking most.
Yeah, that's what they say. And just from being in the tattoo shop now and watching people get tattooed, I would say the back and the ribs seems to get people like the most fucked up with pain.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned it. Let's go right into that. You started apprenticing at Garden City Tattoo, right?
Yep.
Where's that located at?
It's in Beverly, Massachusetts. So I live in Salem, Massachusetts, witch trials and shit.
All right.
So Beverly is the next town over. It's just over a bridge. And they're kind of like, they almost function as one town or one city because they're like so close and kind of interchangeable, but they're also very different vibes at the same time. But yeah, right over the bridge from Salem.
And so you grew up in Salem. That's like where your parents are at and stuff, right? And then you moved like all over. You were in San Diego. That's where we met. Then you went to like Portland, Oregon, and Austin. Did you live anywhere else besides that? Am I forgetting places?
Philly.
I forgot.
Okay.
You did live in Philly because you told me that you found like a dead body behind your house, right? Or you didn't find it, but someone found it. And then you're like, we got to get the fuck out of Philly.
Yeah, we didn't find it, but that was like the last straw where we were like, it wasn't necessarily like a Philly thing, but it's definitely let's get the fuck out of this neighborhood.
Yeah.
We were like trying to move back up to New England. That's where like all our family is and shit. So we were close enough in Philly to where we were like traveling up here a bunch. We were like, we should just move back up there. And then a bunch of shit went down, and long story short, somebody ended up getting murdered right behind our house. So we just got the fuck out.
Yeah, that's a good time to get the fuck out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so I'm from Lynn, Massachusetts. So it's right next to Salem. It's like there's all these little towns, like suburbs of Boston. And so my parents are in Lynn, which is right next door to Salem. And then I work in Beverly, which is right next door to that, kind of going up north, up the coast.
Dude, so I don't know. I'm going to just segue this shit. Steve gave me like our friend Steve gave us some questions that he was like, you should ask Chris this stuff. And most of them revolve around your dad. Just like anything with Roadkill Pete action in it.
Yeah.
But he was saying something about went traveling with your dad, or like you had like a bunch of crazy stories of like just being on vacation with your pops being a maniac.
Yeah, totally. Like every time we travel with him is just chaos from like the second we're even just trying to get out of their house and get to the airport. Like we'll be like always running late for a flight, and we'll be like, we gotta go. We need to be at the airport now. It's like a half an hour drive. And he's like ass naked trying to choose what socks he's gonna wear or something. So that's like before, like, let's say San Diego, the last time we all went out there. Yeah, he was like naked when we're already running late. We got an Uber XL outside the house, and like, it's just chaos. And then Steve's probably talking about when we were at the Lafayette Hotel in San Diego, North Park there. And my dad got shit-faced at the pool, and then he went back to the room ass naked. All these stories basically are about my dad being naked.
Yeah, so Steve alluded to that. Shout out Steve. Happy birthday today, dude.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Steve.
God. Happy birthday, Steve. I love you, brother. I'm trying to think of an embarrassing Steve story to tell on his birthday episode. It'll come later. I'll keep the gears turning.
So you're saying
a nut job.
You started getting
him as a guest on the podcast.
You know, if we could
Dude.
actually get him to like get out of his little scared little bubble, I think it would be a great interview.
Oh, I'm talking about my dad, but my dad and Steve would be awesome.
Dude,
Yeah,
just-
maybe we'll have a triple interview again.
your dad and
Yeah.
Steve should have their own podcast because
I know.
from what I hear, your dad just likes to berate him and call him a pussy.
Definitely. Yeah. Steve's got my dad on like Instagram Live before because my dad doesn't know what the fuck's going on his phone. So he thinks he's getting like a FaceTime from Steve, and he's like on Steve's Instagram Live at like, at like midnight. My dad's like half asleep and he's like, "Oh, what's up, Steve?"
That shit is funny.
So you said you started doing tattoo apprenticeship. How long have you been doing that? And obviously you it's an easy transition going from like the art that you were doing, like, and just kind of trying a new medium. Like, is that why you decided to do it, or a different reasoning? What do you think?
Yeah, I just wanted to try something like new and different. I think last time I was on the podcast, I had a corporate job
Yep.
at actually, like doing graphics for kids' shoes and stuff like that.
Yep. I remember
And
that.
that was something that I was just basically burnt out from hustling like the night watch stuff with my wife for so long, and got the opportunity to do some work with, and I was like, that's different. I've never actually like done a real design job, and that's like what I went to school for and shit. So I kind of wanted to like prove to myself that I could do it. And then I did it for like almost 2 years. Like I started right at the pandemic start. So I got to be in their like really sick office for 3 months until we all just got sent back home, and I was just back in this room that I was like itching to get out of. But then I was like only able to do this like super corporate kind of like commercial work. So I'm like, I don't know, I just got burnt out on that again. So I was thinking of something else to do. And then I don't know, for some reason I thought about it a lot, and I've been asked about it a lot in my like career. Like, why don't I tattoo, or have I ever thought about it? And I don't know, it just clicked at that point when I was like, well, I tried that corporate thing. And then I just thought about tattooing, and I was like, that seems like a really fucking sick way to just like be able to like manage my money and time better with art. Cause it's like, someone comes in, you do the tattoo, you get paid there. And like artists are the worst bookkeepers and fucking, money managers. Like, and I was doing that for so long, and we were just like, it just felt like chaos for so long. I'm like, I need to be more realistic about what one person can do and manage like my art kind of as like compact as possible,
Yeah.
So
Well,
I reached out to my friend Andrew. Sorry, real quick. I reached out to my buddy Bix, who owns the shop, and he was at another shop, and he was like, it was crazy timing because he's like, we're actually building out a new shop, like, and then I asked if I could apprentice there when he was tattooing the palm of my hand, which was insane to even get a word out because it was so painful. But I asked him about the apprenticeship then. He said, yeah. So yeah, I've been doing it for about 6 months now since the grand opening of that shop.
Right on.
for people that don't know, like kind of the shop culture of like tattoo shops, when you apprentice, normally, like in my understanding, you start off just sweeping the floors. You start off like keeping stuff clean. You might set up a gun, like they'll teach you how to like set up the guns or like set up the stations for people, make sure stuff's sanitized. When do you actually start doing artwork? Because you said you've been there 6 months, and then like right now you're kind of getting the artwork side of it going, right?
Yeah, I'm tattooing grapefruits right now, which is super sick. It's a really good way to just like get used to the weight of the machine and like handling the machine and trying to dial in like line work and, just trying to make shit look good without like, fucking up some skin. You
Right.
know? So, excuse me. Yeah, it's different for everybody. I think like an apprenticeship is usually like 2 years. It's just, it's kind of just up to like the apprentice and the mentor, and I think there's some laws involved too with like getting your license and the amount of time that you need to
Right. Yeah.
to be
Hours under your
learning.
belt.
So yeah, the very beginning is a lot of shop stuff like sweeping the floors and all that, which isn't very like glamorous. And as a 34-year-old man, it's kind of like damn, but you know, it's I think it's totally crucial, just to be in the shop and getting a feel for how that shop actually works, because a lot of people are artists. Doesn't mean you can be a tattooer. There's like so many factors, but like a big thing for me was just like I've been tattooed a lot, but I've never like known a lot about how like that business of a tattoo shop works and like what's needed to happen like behind the scenes and shit. So
Yeah.
that was really important.
How's
Basically a lot of fucking cleaning and sanitizing and keeping shit sterile.
Right.
how's the learning curve going from being able to draw and like create with a pen and having the confidence in that to then going to like a tattoo machine on grapefruits or whatever? Like, how's that learning curve treating you?
Dude, it's a fucking sharp curve, I'll tell
Is
you
it?
that much. Like it's I've mainly just drawn with like pencils, like Sharpies and Micron pens, like these super light little fucking things. And then you've got this like big, boxy, vibrating, loud machine in your hand that's fucking shaking when the wheels out of it. So it's like, yeah, dude, it's just one of those things that you just need to do it a lot and repetition. You got to get used to it. My wrist was hurting at first, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's normal. Your wrist needs to like build up these weird muscles to be able to hold that fucking machine up while you're drawing for hours."
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's definitely like a humbling experience. Like
Gotta be,
I
right?
would say like my style, like I try to do like very clean line work and with my style. So, trying to be obsessive like I usually do with that machine is like fucking crazy and kind of like frustrating at times, but it's super fun to learn.
Absolutely, I bet, man.
Well, the grapefruits you've posted that I've seen, dude, look super clean. Like maybe you dialed it back to the basics a little bit, but like definitely indicative of like what you do with your art, like bold, clean line work.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man, looks dope. I'm so happy that you got into it because I know Steve mentioned it way back in the day, like way before you worked at even. He was like, yeah, he's talking about like, why don't I tattoo? Or people were like trying to encourage him to tattoo, and maybe that comes with like some of the artists that you were working with, especially when you were doing the Swamp Wizards thing. Like a lot of those guys are like tattoo artists. Is like you probably got like a lot of influence in that realm. Like, oh, I could do this, or like they make a living doing it. Maybe I could make a living doing it, or whatever. Like,
Yeah, I've always looked up to them and I've always enjoyed getting tattooed and hanging out in tattoo shops and stuff. But I don't know, for some reason, I could just like never picture myself doing it. I guess it just took like a friend of mine who's tattooed me for like a decade almost to open a shop. And I'm like, oh man, that sounds like a really fucking cool shop to get involved with and learn from. And they're like, give me that opportunity. I think it just seemed like such a closed off like club
Like
to
world,
me
yeah.
before, which it is. It's its own culture, and that's the thing about apprenticeships too. You really need to prove that you're serious about it, because it is like it's its own like protected community kind of. Like some people are like super serious about it, which had that also intimidated me in the past. Like people would just be like so crazy about it. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just let them be the tattooers and shit. But then you'll see like people like Thomas Fernandez, Live Rad Studios, he does Santa Cruz boards like I do. He's a tattoo artist. He's a musician. He DJs, and like I really look up to that kind of thing and just keep evolving and like just never get burnt out. You get your hand in a bunch of different pots, as they say.
I don't think I got to ask you this last time, but I heard a story that you were kicking it with Thomas, and this is before you tattooed. This is like years ago, and that he was like, just draw some Night Watch shit on me, and like he got it like
Yeah.
tattooed on him.
Yeah, that was in the murder house in Philly. He was staying with me out there, and he was doing like some guest spots out on the East Coast, and he stayed with me and Christy in Philly, and we were just chilling at the house, and he had me do the little all-seeing eye, the night watch thing with a little NW under it on his ankle.
Nice.
And he just sent me a picture of that recently. He's like, "What? You've been tattooing for years."
So have you had to, or do you feel like as you're getting into tattooing and you're kind of unwrapping what it entails, that you're going to have to adjust the style or the way that you create the art that's going to go on someone's body as opposed to like what you would put on a skateboard or something? Are you noticing those differences that you have to make, and what are they?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I was like worried about that at first too, because the type of tattooing I like is traditional, just like one line weight, bold outline, simple stuff. And the like skate graphics I do, I kind of would like taper a lot of line endings and like sculpt lines to different weights and stuff. But honestly, I've been getting kind of like not bored of that style, but it's so time consuming that it's just like, oh man, I spend so much time doing that, because it's like mock brushwork without using a brush. I'm building it with pens, and I'm like, sometimes I'm just sitting there alone and I'm like, oh my God, how long have I been working on this fucking thing? So it's been really, I mean, I'll always draw in like ink stuff in that style, but it's been really fun to just take a round tip like pen and just do like a stripped down, like one line weight outline. And then when you shade off those lines too, you can make it look, I can get it pretty close to like identifiable as my style.
Nice.
Because my style, I basically, when I was developing my style, referenced like a lot of Sailor Jerry artwork and stuff. Like if I didn't know how to draw something, I'd always go for like a traditional tattoo reference, because they strip it down. And like, there's always really like nice, simple, like design ideas on how to at least start to draw something with traditional tattoo designs.
Dang, that's rad. I wouldn't have thought to be able to like strip it down like that to that basic line work and then build up from that. That's rad.
And it's like, it's been proven that it's appealing to the masses, even if you aren't into tattoos. Like, I just watched that Von Dutch thing on Hulu. Is like the documentary about that brand, and it was built off of the traditional like pinstriper tattooer. And then you got stuff like Ed Hardy and Sailor Jerry, where it's like these very approachable kind of like looks on art, but people don't necessarily contribute it to tattoo art.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I want to watch that Von Dutch thing. I saw the trailer. It looks pretty wild.
It's pretty interesting. Like, it was a moment in our childhood for sure. Like, everyone remembers Paris Hilton wearing like the Von Dutch hat and shit. And like, it's just interesting to get the whole story on it. You mentioned Sailor Jerry. Whoa, go ahead. Oh, hell yeah.
Dope. Look at that.
So that's all just brushwork on what kind of paper is that?
This is stipple paper. It's so it's all marker. It's
you use
like
markers?
It's like a Statler marker or Statler. I don't know. It's like this German thing, but they make like basically the round tip micron, but they make it like 1.2 millimeters, so it's really bold tip.
Nice.
And yeah, so a lot of the homies that have been teaching me shit showed me those, and these are just traced out of an old like vintage Flash book, just to they've been having me like trace a lot of Flash just to get like the basics of like where the shading goes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I have been coming up with like some of my own designs or reworking old designs and like trying to like see if they translate to tattooing for whenever that starts to happen. I get to start, making Flash out of all the graphics I've made in the past. I'm super excited about that.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah, that shading already looks really good with that, especially with that fat, bold marker that you're doing to be able to bring that shade in. That's looking good, bro.
Thanks. Oh yeah, the shading on the stipple paper you do with colored pencils. Have you ever used it? It's like it's called stipple paper. There's another name for it that I don't remember right now, but the paper just has really hard little bumps on it. So if you're just like lightly hitting it with a colored pencil, it like does a stipple effect for you.
Oh, rad.
No, yeah, I've never used that. I honestly, man, like when it comes to like heavy papers, like watercolor paper, like Bristol and stuff, I don't use a ton of it in my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I had always seen the stipple texture paper, and people had asked me why I don't use it, because I stipple a lot in my like other work. But I was like, dude, the stipples are too small with the paper. I like doing them one at a time because I'm a psychopath, and I like that look.
You are, dude. I've had a couple of friends ask like how you do your stippling. I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, he's just a maniac. He just sits there and does it one dot at a time and then scans it in super high res. They're like, how do you get that effect in like Photoshop? I was like, I don't think it's Photoshop. I just think he scans it like high res, and you know, it holds the circle better than if you were to live trace something at a lower resolution and it breaks up, you know?
Yeah, live trace, I don't fuck with, because it does fuck up the shape of the stipple. So yeah, it's like a Photoshop high res scan. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just like I don't know if I'm just a psycho or if I just have a high tolerance for like just bullshit. I just like zen out and we'll just fucking sit there for hours. And I'll get like real fast with it too. It's almost just like automatic. Just throw on some music or a podcast and just stipple.
Well, that's totally like where like style develops too, is just muscle memory of that person's hand. Like you could do the same thing as someone else and have it kind of be completely different outcome just on the way you hold your pen or the weight you put into it or whatever, right? So it's like, I don't know, that really comes through in your work. I feel like it's pretty dynamic at this point. You've been doing it long enough.
Thanks, homie.
Yeah, man.
I'm curious. I know you were working for, last time we were on, we didn't get a chance to like really dive into what it's like working for like corporate media production stuff like that. Now working for, and then now you're doing Santa Cruz skateboards too, right? Or you were like most recently working within that kind of more corporate atmosphere, even though they're counterculture skateboard, you know, industries and stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of like bureaucracy or boss employee mentality. Now, like, did you ever butt heads or run into that and to where it inhibited your ability to create, or were they bringing you on like, hey, yo, Tallboy, we love your work. Please, you know, come and do what you do and we'll kind of give you free reign?
Yeah, dude, good question. So yeah, working at a big corporation like that, like everything, you know, you heard is true. There's bureaucracy, there's your boss who might be down for one thing, and then there's bosses above that'll be like, nope.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to get something like that done. And there were people at that company that wanted some Tallboy shit, and then there were other people there that didn't want it. So you know, without like going too deep into that's why I don't work there anymore, because it wasn't for me. I'm like, damn, I spent so long like making like a name for myself and developing this style, and then, you know, to be full time in a job that demands all your creativity, but I can't do that style.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I can't do it. Well, that's I would rather just go bartend somewhere and then be able to do my art, you know?
Hell yeah. That's what made me think of it, is like, you've created this very specific style. We're over here talking that you're a psychopath with the way that you like detail that you put into your art. And so I'm thinking, you go to corporate, there's no way they're just going to let you do what you want. So I could only imagine that those two things are going to butt heads like heavily, you know? Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that is part of the reason why you would have to leave. Somebody with your artistic mind and talent isn't going to want to fit in. Even if you can perform it, you're not going to want to fit into something like that as you go forward, I would think.
Yeah. And I did, like, I knew what I was getting into. I was just like ready for the challenge and a little bit of change of pace, and let's face it, a paycheck every week. So sure. I was like, you know, I knew what I was getting into. So I was doing like a lot of like, it's commercial work. So it's like, what can we make that will appeal to the most amount of people to like profit the most off of it? So that's corporate artwork in a nutshell right there. So
Yep.
it was interesting to see it for myself, because I'm like the type of person that, like, no matter how much like someone's gonna tell me or warn me or what's gonna happen, like I want to see it for myself. So, you know, I was in there, like I made friends, like I still love everybody that I worked with there. Like I had one opportunity to do a pretty sick Chuck Taylor for like Zoomies with like a mushroom skull, like with mushrooms growing out of it. And they did it up all black light. I can actually grab it right now.
Do it.
It's
That's
like
rad.
right next to me.
Oh, that's sick looking, bro. It's all
Yeah,
black
it's like,
light?
yeah. It's all like neon black light reactive, and all the black is like flocked velvety.
Oh,
for
dope.
sure. So yeah, it's like a blacklight poster, like the flocked poster. That's sick.
Yeah, totally.
So are those
So, yeah,
all
that's
like
cool.
limited runs that have come and gone now? Are these things that are still available that they kept on, or what?
I'm not sure. I think that one might be gone by now. It didn't get like I didn't get to actually do the inking on it, so it didn't get to be like marketed as Tallboy, which was like the original idea. It got me fucking stoked.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, it was a different department than I worked in, and it caused like some problems or something, and that's, you know, probably ultimately when I realized like, nah.
Yeah.
Like I worked hard to be able to do this type of shit.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you though, so like, because you and Christy started Night Watch over 10 years ago at this point, right? Like,
yeah, it was in 2013.
So yeah, just coming up on 10 years, basically, that you've been branding your own business and like building your own business. And you were saying like kind of the difference is like looking at art in the way that it might sell more as opposed to just doing what you want to do. Was there ever like a time when you did something for Night Watch that you were like, maybe this will sell more? Like, or did you ever like, did you solely do like everything you want to do with the company?
So when we first started the company, it was because we wanted to open a gallery, and we were still like pretty young and like bright-eyed about that idea. And then we were like looking into spaces, and we're like, how the fuck do you sell art and like be able to pay rent? Like, I don't know. So
Got to have a trust fund for that.
yeah, dude, we don't have that. So we were like, I guess like a lot of the decisions we made after we were doing zines was like trying to make Night Watch into like a business that could actually like make us money that we could actually like survive off of and make a living with. So like we tried a lot of t-shirts, like, cause I had always done that stuff. I bought a poster screen printing press, and we were doing a lot of prints for a while. I bought like a resew machine and all this shit. And I think I realized from all that, is like when you're just like one person trying to do all this shit, like it's not gonna work. Right. Like I was trying to do, and I'm trying to be like have an illustration career too, and like get better at that. And I can't just be like printing all the time, illustrating all the time, and like, you know, also like trying to have a life. So yeah, we've tried a lot of different things with it. And you know, it was all really fun. It took us all around the country. We got to move everywhere. But I think at the end of the day, the illustration stuff is what really like kind of would like set us apart. So the shit that got us was probably the best stuff. Like it got us flown to London to do that mural like a couple of years ago before COVID.
Yo, let's talk about that real quick. That had to be an awesome experience, going across the pond and then being able to do this like the size work that you did over there.
And that was in collabs with Sailor Jerry, right? In that skate shop. So how did that like come about?
Well, probably so the guy that worked for Sailor Jerry was like the brand manager or something like that. His name's Dave. He's like a really cool South African guy, and he's just a skate rat dude who's really into Santa Cruz. So he and the guy Dick that owns Three Amigos skate shop over in London, they love Santa Cruz and they love that style of artwork and stuff. And they had found me through those boards. And so Sailor Jerry would do collabs with that skate shop, just to throw parties and just like do cool shit in the skate scene over there. And I got a DM from the Three Amigos skate shop on my Instagrams, just like some random skate shop in London. And he's like, yo, you want to come paint a mural on my shop? I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not going to be cheap, dude. I'm in America. And he's just like, oh no, Sailor Jerry will pay for it all. And I'm like, all right, I'm listening.
That's dope.
That's awesome.
So
dude.
yeah. Next thing you know, I'm on like a Zoom call with that dude, and he's like, do whatever you want, man. Like whatever you want. I'm like, okay, how about 3 sharks? It's called Three Amigos. We'll do like a hammerhead, a tiger shark, and a great white. We made boards. That one right behind me.
Yep. Yeah, dude. I remember because you'd done a few murals. You've done like a handful, like maybe like a dozen or so. And the progression of each one to me gets more intricate and larger in like scale and everything. Like you did the Suns Out Buns Out on the old bar I used to work at over at Bonsai in San Diego. And that I thought that was big. And you did that one like, 2 days or something, a couple days, you like knocked it out. And now you're doing the whole sides of building multicolor, just like way more intricate shit. And I'm assuming it doesn't take you much more time. You're kind of like just knocking it out from what I can tell. It's crazy, man. How's that? Like, does it get easier after the first couple?
Dude, thank you, man. Like I learned a lot like every time. Also, I'd have like crazy like anxiety leading up to it, especially the ones that I'm traveling for, because there's all this pressure and like people are paying for your trip. Like you're invoicing them to cover paint and like somewhere to stay and like transportation and shit. So that's where like Christy came in as like a really good like person who fucking is realistic about like how much this shit's gonna cost and how much to pay people. But I mean, I've definitely learned my lesson with undercharging people too, and then being like, oh fuck, I lost money on this shit like the first day, and I have like a week worth of painting to do. But yeah, you learn something new like every time. The cool thing about like the murals is they were like, I've done like not that many of them, like the commercial ones where like people will pay me to do them. And like the Suns Out Buns Out one was probably one of the first ones where I was like even like too uncomfortable with spray paint to really try to blend. I was doing all stippling for the shading on that with just like one hits of the fucking
I remember watching you do it.
Yeah, because I was psycho, like I said. But I just had no like real opportunity to like practice blending, and I'm like, I'm not about to do this on the wall of this business that's paying me. I'm gonna just fucking try to make this shit look like the t-shirt or whatever. So with every one I'd like learn a little bit more and get more confident. So that Three Amigos one was also the first one where they were like, dude, do whatever the fuck you want. So that helped too. And I was like, I'm just gonna go floor to ceiling, like the whole wall of like down the whole block of this shop, and just try to like really do something that looks really fucking rad.
It came out rad as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
I swear I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking up stuff on your Instagram right now. I just have my phone, not my pad today.
That kind of leads into the next one, though. I don't know if it was the very next one you did, but one of the most recent ones that you did was for that Seawalls Pangea project that does like ocean cleanup, basically charity, and they do murals all over the world with different artists to promote their charity. And dude, I don't know how tall that building is, but that shit looked giant. Like
it looked huge.
I mean, what is that? 3 stories?
Yes, I think it was. It was definitely taller than I was told it was too, which is always fun. But I mean, it's close to home. It's in East Boston, so I would just drive in every morning to work on that. And they hooked it up with the Skyjack, like a really nice lift. But yeah, that one was a little bit more panic beforehand, just because Well, it's always kind of like the same amount of panic beforehand because they were like steadily getting bigger in size as I was doing them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they had like those Pangea Seed dudes like Trey and Akira. They have like a crew of like old school graffiti heads who like are their staff to help people with like anything really. Like they're kind of being like a bouncer at my wall because some like gangster dude was trying to say it was his block and shit and getting all sketchy, and they had to like bounce him out of there.
That's wild.
But,
how long?
yeah,
how long
that
does
was
something
wild.
like that take you? Like you're showing up, you're using the lift. Like how many square feet can you cover realistically in a day? And like how did that pan out when you show up and see, holy shit, this is bigger than I really thought it was. I'm gonna have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, it's just like not, you can't really do much at that point. I'm like, well, I'm doing the fucking wall. I made the artwork prior, like scaled to like a photo of the wall. So it's like the right shape.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so we used a projector I had an outline, like a sketch. So we projected that on the wall, got on a lift with Tay, one of their graffiti ops guys. Like we were up there just fucking blasted through the outline in one night while it was raining. And then
They're in the rain?
the outline, yeah.
Nice.
So there was like an umbrella over a laptop with a projector, and
Dude, that's dedication right there, bro.
yeah, we all were definitely a few beers deep. It was just it's always really fun.
Hell yeah.
But that took me like about a week. Usually it takes me about a week. Like I give myself a week to do it.
Okay.
And if I'm like running behind, I'll be like, fuck it, I'm going for it this day. I want to get to this certain point. And like I always try to like have a goal set for each day and like think about how much you can get done by the end of the week. And like after the first day of painting, you kind of have a realistic idea of like, okay, I know how much is realistic, you know, and then you can adjust your timeline. With the traveling ones, you're under more of a crunch. So I'll like, you know, with the London one, I definitely like, kind of like fucked my back up because I was like, I have to finish this thing.
Right.
But those guys were so cool. They would just like take us out to the bar and like buy us fucking falafels and shit every night. It was like, we made like friends with them. We're still like homies to this day.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It seems like a crazy. I mean, it seems like from an artist perspective, I'm like, that's what I want to do. And then you think about it and you're like, damn, that's a lot of work. Damn, that's a lot of pressure. Like it's a little bit more of a job than it might seem. You know, like face value of just seeing someone's like wall like that. You're like, damn, that's crazy. That's a lot of painting, but it's more than just painting that goes into the whole thing. It's like,
yeah, like those dudes that do it for like a full-time job, like they're definitely a different type of person. Like I met Ricardo. He writes It's a Living.
Oh yeah,
Have
yeah.
you seen his stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came out to Boston and did a fucking huge wall. I don't even know. It was like the side of like a Target, basically. It was like one of those giant, long, like warehouses. But yeah, and then he's like hopping on a plane and going to like some other country or some other city and doing another one right after that.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
So
wild.
I don't know how those dudes do it.
Do you just shut down like after you do a project like that? Do you just come home and like not draw for a week?
No, I just honestly just feel like really cool about it and look at like all the pictures and just be like, damn, look at that fucking wall. I did that.
Yeah.
It feels good.
That's good,
yeah,
bro.
definitely. I wouldn't say I shut down and don't draw, but I'm definitely like, yeah, I don't need to do that again for like a year.
Right. Dude, that's so good that you actually like get pride out of it and look over it and give yourself that, because there are too many like self-deprivating artists out there that are like, oh, I finished it, but it's not good enough. I should have done this, or, you know, just Monday morning quarterback it. And I'm the same way. If I make something, I sit back, I'm like, damn, this is dope. I want to live in this for a minute, you know, and actually enjoy it. And I feel like so many artists don't do that, don't give themselves the opportunity to like bask in what they just did.
yeah, I definitely like had to kind of learn that. I was totally that little like emo bitch before who was just like, oh, it's not good enough,
Yeah.
or like, oh yeah, but next time it'll be better. And like you always have those. Like there, I could totally look at that mural and be like, oh yeah, I probably could have done something better on that one. But like at this point, you know, I think it also comes with like getting older. You kind of like just learn shit through experience, and like you can either keep doing the same thing or you can just like find ways to make it more interesting. And
Right.
like those projects are always so fun because there's well, in that situation, like there was like 10 artists from all over the world at least doing walls all in the same neighborhood in East Boston, and everyone was like hanging out after at the end of the night. And like, you know, we had like opening and closing parties, and it was all like super well organized. So it's just like so much fun to like, it's like impossible to walk away from that and just like not be stoked.
Sure. Hell yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I've seen a lot of the like seawalls things from different artists. But I don't know. It was crazy to see you do one just because I was like, damn, Chris is on that level now. Like where, you know, he's getting invited to do this kind of shit, which is just like incredible. And like you said, it's artists from all over the world that do these projects for them. So it's just like, damn, that's some next level shit, like for sure.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and it was cool. It was cool being like in like my city. Like I've done a mural in like my home city of Lynn, but like Boston, I hadn't done one in yet. So it was cool to kind of hold it down as like a Boston artist, and like that's kind of a big reason why I wanted to go like real crazy with that one and do that octopus. I'm like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I want to do a shark, but I always do sharks. And then I was like, an octopus would be cool, but I'm like, damn, dude, you got 8 tentacles and shit.
Yeah.
And like every tentacle has all these suckers on it. I'm like, shit. But I'm psyched. I'm psyched with how it came out.
No, it turned out real good, man. As does everything that you've created, bro. Like I didn't know you prior or anything. I met you through Steve and Matt and like going to the art shows and stuff that he was involved with down in San Diego. But seeing it go from like when you did that Vacation Forever, that's when I first met you, the shirt and like the island with the skeleton on it, like immediately
Yeah.
it was like, well, that's dope. But seeing what you've done coming up through, like all the way to like I have a big eagle print that you did, like that you screen printed holding the 6-pack of beers. Like they're completely different styles, but you've kind of found them as you've walked through. You know what I mean? Like, what am I trying to say? You weren't like linear in your path on art as far as I can see. Like you jumped around on every path. Like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try digital. I'm going to try printing. I'm going to try this. Like, and to be able to have that in your portfolio, you know what I mean? That just, I'm sure that lended to why these big companies and these dudes were willing to trust you. Like, you do what you want on this wall, because they didn't know if they were going to get what style of Tallboy they were going to get, because you've been able to be all over the board.
Dude, thanks, man. Yeah, that's like another part of it too. Like it is cool to be like, damn, I'm proud of that shit. Like we were saying, like confidence is fucking cool, but also like you do need to be like, I personally need to be like always learning new shit. Mm-hmm. And you do have to be like a little bit critical of yourself, or not even critical, but realistic, and be like, okay, yeah, I still have some shit to learn here. And that's like been a huge part of like the tattooing that I'm doing now. It's like very humbling to be in a position to where I literally have to start from like the ground up, and like there's so much to learn. There's like the history, the different artists, there's like meanings of stuff, you know, like it's cool for that type of thing that we're talking about, because it's going to provide a shit ton of like learning material for a long time. Like I've been talking to dudes who've been like tattooing for like 15 to 20 years and say they're learning shit every day. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I'm not going to get fucking bored of that. Yeah, and be like an apprentice for life in a way, you know.
It's the most unforgiving canvas too. I mean, you really you can pride yourself on like doing illustration and doing it like in one shot and like having it look pretty good for like a sitting. But with tattoo, there's no forgiveness. Like if you fuck someone's arm up or leg up, not only will it look bad, they're gonna be pissed. It could have like health like issues, like you get infected, you don't do stuff right, you don't sanitize right. There's so much more at stake, I guess, with it than just like painting or drawing. You know, you could always paint over something.
Yeah, that part makes me nervous too. Like the fact that everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you'll fuck something up, you'll misspell something." You just wait, and I'm like, "Dude, that sounds fucking horrible."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh yeah, it'll happen."
Dude, it almost is probably a terrible metaphor to make, but it reminds me of like becoming a chiropractor, because you have to go through all medical school, like an entire 8 years of medical school, and then an extra 4 years of chiropractic just to not be considered a doctor by most people. You know what I mean? And you're over here as a tattoo artist. You had to went through your entire life of honing these art skills and creating this persona of yourself to be this artist that you've done. And now you're totally bringing yourself down to like, now I've got to humble myself in this new style of art. Like I'm not going to get the accolades that are present for, you know, printing and all of that kind of other art that you did. Like, it has to be a certain type of person that's willing to put themselves into that situation to tattoo, because you have to be a dope ass artist, but then you have to completely relearn how to do art, it seems like.
Yeah, but I kind of have like, I feel like I can kind of work in all the shit that I've done before, like into tattooing, and kind of have them all kind of work together. Like I've seen a lot of Vacation Forever tattoos out there, and it's going to be rad as fuck one day when I can do one, you know?
Hell yeah.
Is that crazy? Like when you did that, they almost started like immediately, I feel like, where people were getting that shit like tattooed on them, and was like, was that just like a mind fuck? You're like,
yeah, totally. The first one I saw was sent in from Brazil. It was like these dudes that had a clothing company in Brazil called Weird. It was like a surf clothing company. And this dude sent it to me back when I just had like a Blogspot website. It was like before Instagram and shit. And yeah, that was the first one I saw.
Has to be mind blowing.
I've seen really good ones, and I've seen ones that I'm like, shit, damn.
that shit is funny, dude. Yeah, that's crazy to me. But I mean, it's gotta feel good at the same time, like that people are so stoked on your work that they're willing to get it forever. The same way, you know, you get the Jim Phillips on your hand. It's like that meant so much to you, and it shaped your artwork. Like you're shaping other people's work in their lives and shit, which is awesome.
It's really cool.
It's a compliment for sure, because it's like, all right, well, that person thinks your design's good enough to get it tattooed on them forever. So you did a good design.
Yeah, for sure. You're working. You said that sorry, that was a terrible way to start that.
No worries.
You're also doing work with Lurking Class right now, right? Clothing company, like putting out some designs with them and working closely with them. Tell us about, like, what do you have a specific direction that you're going with that, like, line and what you guys are doing, or like how did you get involved with that, and what's it kind of unfolding into?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a planned like thing as far as like the graphics I make for them, in the sense that Sketchy Tank owns the company and started it, and he is like primarily works in just like black and white.
Yeah.
So when he was like hitting me up to do some shit, we were thinking it would be like cool to use some really bright colors and just see how like their customer base like reacted to that, just so it's just not like more black and white shit by like a different artist who draws skulls, you know, in a similar fashion. So yeah, in that sense, I think we've seen that it's been like really fun to just do like super bright color shit, just to have that option available like to that audience, and it's like gone over pretty well from what I can see. So
for sure.
But yeah, at the same time, it's like another one of those awesome scenarios where he's like, yo, you got any ideas? Like, let's do something, you know? And it's pretty open.
Yeah, you guys have known each other for a long time, and like he was part of the original Unholy Trifecta that became the Swamp Wizards. So that's awesome that he gives you just the creative control to be like, yeah, what do you think? Like, what do you want to do? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
For a brand that's going nationwide, worldwide through Zoomies and fucking, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of expectation just to be like, yeah, what do you think you want to do? It's fucking tight.
Yeah. I mean, if at the same time though, if it's not gonna work, he'll let me know though. He'll be like, no titties, we gotta be in Zoom.
Yeah.
he's like, unless you don't want to get like make as much money off the royalties. I'm like, all right, sick.
Yeah. Well, there is like a heavy like cohesion in everything that you guys are doing in there. So it's cool that that's coming from like your mind and not like a corporate dictation. Like we want it to look like this, so make it like this. You're like, no, this is the vibe and the feel that I get. And that allows for that kind of organic cohesion amongst everything rather than like planned and cut and have to be stuck together when they're not supposed to be. You know, I think it's rad. Everything that you've been putting out through them, everything that I've seen actually that on your Instagram and shit lately has just been crushing it, bro. Really has been.
Jesus, man. Thank you. Yeah. Well, the cool thing about like Lurking Class is like, you know, it started by an artist. So like, and that's how it grew. It was an artist owned company. So it's kind of like, why like, what the fuck is the thing? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. That thing.
Yeah. No, it's
so by keeping it like an art-based brand, they're like, you know, that's what their like customer base wants to see, you know?
You know, maybe that's what I'm seeing. Maybe that's what I'm getting from it is that it's rooted in art, you know, at its core, at its heart is art and artists, you know what I mean? Rather than like you said earlier with or with Santa Cruz, like has to be corporate where everybody's going to enjoy it, the most broad audience, you know what I mean? Like there's something to be said about that for sure. Like what is the core reason that this is coming out?
Yeah, I'd say Santa Cruz is the same way though too, because it's like if you think about like where Santa Cruz came from, it was like all based on Jim Phillips's art,
right?
So the reason why like Santa Cruz like got in touch with me and Thomas and all the other sick artists they work with in the first place is because we are obviously like influenced by their aesthetic as a brand.
Sure.
So it's like the same thing with Santa Cruz that they'll basically keep it pretty open unless it's like a pro that has a specific idea. But even then it's like they kind of know like I'm gonna, you know, kind of come up with my own ideas and like how to work my style into that. And in that way, I feel like those boards are like a true collaboration. And yeah, I'm always psyched to see those when they come out.
They are just, it is with both, I guess they're pieces of art that like almost stand alone as the design on the shirt or the design on the board. Whereas a lot of companies will just either put a logo or a different variation of the logo like on shit, and it's like it gets pretty boring pretty quick, whereas like the stuff you're doing is always interesting to look at. There's like crazy shit going on, there's always some hidden stuff in there. It's rad, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it really like works for like heads like us who are just like we're more like drawn towards the graphics.
Yeah,
where like, you know, as skaters it's like, you know, the skaters that are like, I don't fucking care about the graphic, like I want the shape, like it could have like no graphic on it for all I care. I'm always like, I do like care about the shape to an extent, but I've always just been a nerd about the graphic, you know?
Yep.
Definitely.
Now Curveball, would you say that you have a favorite deck that you've designed that is so far, like that is just the one that you're so stoked on and that you wish you had 10 copies of it sitting in your closet?
The first one that comes to mind is the Santa Cruz Dope Planet board for Eric Winkowski.
Okay.
It's got like a yin yang in the middle and like
yes.
I have one right there. That one probably just because I spent like a shitload of time on it and like I had just kind of like been exposed to his skating, and he was like a really exciting new pro that had that old school style but still like is like a younger dude that is like part of today's skate scene, and just the weird like the old school shapes that he skates and what he can do on those, it got me just super pumped. and the idea from the art direction at Santa Cruz was to make it a graphic that works both ways, because he does so many inverts that his board's upside down all the time.
Oh, tight.
So yeah, for like graphic nerds like us, I was like, oh fuck yeah, dude, I was psyched. So, and then then those boards like became like this crazy like collector's item, just because I think that dude's skating, but also it's just such a different kind of approach. It's like almost that weird like blacklight poster vibe.
Yeah.
And the shape too, like collectors kind of go nuts for those things.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I'll get a wild hair up my ass and I'll just like eBay like Tallboy shit to see like what people are selling of yours and for how much. And there's not a lot of new boards. The new boards go for a good amount of money, like when I've found them. But people will sell skated decks of yours and still under like, you know, Santa Cruz deck by Tallboy. It's been fucking skated and they're still selling it for like $100. I'm like, okay, like there's definitely a market for your work that's like reaches not just skateboarding, but like I think a lot more just art collectors.
Yep.
It's crazy, man. There's a dude in Denmark who has like a lot of the Santa Cruz boards I've done. He's one of those guys that just has like a warehouse full of a skateboard collection, and he'll pull them all out sometimes and take these pictures of like every colorway of that board, and there's like 10 of them, and like
Dang, that's
he's
bad.
so like earlier you were like, is there one that you wish you had a whole bunch of? And I was like, yeah, probably that one, because this dude is like, the dude from Denmark was like, I hope you have a basement full of these. They're better than Bitcoin, man. I'm like, no, I think I have one left, because I skated one, and then I sold a bunch on my website just to like make some money, and then just for like MSRP price, you know.
Yeah.
And then I like gave a couple away to homies and shit.
Oh yeah. Dude, that's cool, man. Like you can't hold on to it forever as much as you'd like to. And especially when it's your art, you probably don't care about collecting it like that. You're like, I've already, dove in and like invested my time and effort and emotion into this. It's like having the final product's cool, but you probably don't care if you have a bunch of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure the payoff is the people actually wanting it and liking it, right, and creating that value behind it, rather than, oh, I have 100 of them, so I'm rich. It's like, no, I'm rich because all these people wanted it. Yeah.
Such a dick. That would be like such a dick move if I had like 100 of them in my basement and I'm just like,
they're mine.
Like, I think I have like one of each of them, and that's all I really need. Just in the sense that I'm like, oh, this is a cool like memory to keep in my possession as like a time capsule of all the boards I've done. But I get like way more excited about a board like graphic that someone else did. Like there's been some, I think there was some heroin boards that artist Funeral French did.
Oh yeah.
French. And then I bought one of those just because of the graphic. And then I was like, is this me turning into like a crazy skateboard collector guy? I'm like, definitely getting old enough. I was like, I think I'm going to start like collecting boards.
My Nicole had to like get me to chill out because I guess during the pandemic, maybe I was just bored and like wanted to like
no
buy
pun
shit.
intended.
But I was buying decks and I don't even skate that much anymore, to be honest. Like I skate like every once a month or something, you know. It's like I'm not out there crushing decks. So she's like, why do you keep buying decks? I just bought the full Toy Machine, the reissue of the Margaret Kilogram decks that they did for Toy Machine. I just got all those. She's like, why'd you buy 6 skateboards? I was like, I had to.
I needed them.
Oops.
I know. I skate kind of like a lot, but I skate at this curb spot that like some of the older guys in this area made. It's like in the woods and like, but yeah, dude, even if I skate like a couple times a week, my boards will last me for like forever. Yeah. Just because I don't skate like that. It's very low impact.
Yeah. My fat ass, as long as I don't try to lip slide anything, like I'll skate a deck for like a year plus.
Totally, me too.
It's like second I start trying to do lip slides, backside or front side, I just
breaks
crack
an ankle.
Yeah, I'll just crack them. It's all bad news.
Power, baby. I love it.
Dude, so okay, last Steve question because we're about to wrap this shit up.
Oh yeah, let's end with a Steve question.
Steve actually told me to open with this question, but we're gonna end with it. Who is backwards Billy?
Oh shit. Damn, Steve. For all the alcohol and weed that dude's consumed, he has a really good memory. Oh shit, dude, I barely remember. So when I worked at the screen printing shop, yeah, because when I first met Steve, I still worked at the screen printing shop, and I took him up there to show him we had like the big fucking like 8-arm automatic press and all that shit. So I showed Steve that shit, and I'm trying to think where the backwards part came from. When I started there, I was a intern when I was in college, and I started there, and these dudes were all like tatted up on their throats and hands and shit, and they're all in like hardcore bands and all that. And I was just like a skinny little skater kid that they didn't really like, and I was like scared of them basically, so I didn't talk. So they like didn't know my name, and they just called me Billy. So I worked there for like 5+ years, and I was Billy even when I like became friends with all of them, like, and went to their weddings and shit. Like it was still like Billy and Krusty, the wedding invites and shit. So yeah, that's where Billy came from. The backwards part, I think I fucking might have like loaded some shirts on backwards onto the press or something and printed like the back on the front, or we were doing some shirts for like Death Wish Records, and they have a little sleeve print on like the left sleeve, and I think I put them on the right sleeve. If I'm not incorrect, I think that's where backwards came from. Did Steve give you the answer?
No.
Of course not.
He lit me up with like a bunch of questions for you, and then just like was like left it at that.
Yeah, so I guess in like the simplest form, backwards Billy is me. Damn, dude. Oh, wait, what was I was trying to think of like a funny Steve story, right? To get him back for some of this shit.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, give us one.
Shit. Well, I guess this one, I mean, Steve would be probably proud of this, but I was like going through pictures when him and Helen and baby Helen came out to Salem over the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They like came out in like November 2020 and like flew from SD out to Boston.
Baby's like 2 months old.
Huh?
The baby was like 2 months old.
Yeah, exactly. But I was going through all the pictures, and I'm like sending them pictures from the trip and shit. And there's one of Steve, like all fucking like, he's in his underwear on the air mattress in this room with my dog in his arms. And he's like super bloated because we were just drinking and eating the whole time, like we do whenever we hang out.
Uh-huh.
But then there was another picture that I found, and I was like, what is this? It's like black and white, and it's like a texture or something, like rock or something. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Steve took a picture of a nasty shit he did in the toilet and then put like a black and white filter on it and sent it to everyone. And it took us like 15 minutes to figure out what it was. And we're like, oh, it's his fucking shit, dude.
That sounds like a Steve move. It's like, I'm gonna make them look at this for 15 minutes before they figure out what
really
it
have to
is.
focus on this.
Yeah, he also put I think he did this to you, Rat, once too, but he also put like cocaine in my nose while I was sleeping, and I woke up like, and I'm like, oh my god. He's like,
Yo,
we're going to swap meet, motherfucker.
Shout out sober Steve, because he's still a maniac, but he hasn't been like drinking or smoking or doing anything, right? So he's just like on this whole nother level because he's like proud of himself for being sober, but that like gives him more leeway to be more of an asshole somehow. I don't get what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I don't know if that's better or worse, but yeah, Steve knows that I'm like a pretty like shy guy sometimes, or like quiet or like non-confrontational, and he's very confrontational, so he loves getting me in situations where like strangers want to like beat us up.
Dude, we'll Steve wants to come out here and talk about like our bike ride. He's like, I'll do an episode with you about the bike ride, like I'll do it in person though. So when he comes out, I'll get him with a bunch of your questions, and we won't tell him.
Dude, I'll be thinking
he's not going to listen to this.
I know I have better ones.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, we're about to wrap it up, but thank you, man, for giving us an hour and bullshitting with us. It's good to talk to you, dude.
Seriously, man. Love your work. Keep doing it. Everything that you put out is just killing it, crushing it. Each time getting better and better, bro. So keep doing what you're doing.
Dude, thank you. And thanks for having me on again. And I'm down to do it anytime. I love talking to you guys.
Hell yeah.
Awesome, man. Pleasure was ours.
So one more time before we go, nightwatchstudios.com, lurkingclass.com, Santa Cruz Skateboards. Do you know when the new stuff is coming out?
Shit, probably like in a year or so, because I just finished them.
Gotcha.
So
all right, we'll be on the lookout.
There's some foil being talked about, some metallic hits.
Ooh, that's next level too. But you can check out all that stuff. You can cruise eBay for used decks.
Yeah.
No, but
and then where can people find your like Instagram or social, just so they can go follow and check out the stuff that we've been talking about?
Yeah, Tallboy 666 is where I post all my shit. There's going to be a lot of tattoo stuff, but that's been really fucking fun for me. So that's where to keep up on it. And then, yeah, as skateboards and merch comes out, it'll all be on Tallboy 666 Instagram.
And if you're around the Beverly, Mass or Salem, Mass area, cruise over to Garden City and request that this guy gives you a shitty tattoo. Maybe start with like a skull and crossbones or some cherries or something, some dice.
Make sure it's in a discreet location.
It's only doing hip bones.
Yeah, I'll give you some square cherries and some round dice.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thanks again, man. I'll talk to you soon. I appreciate you.
Yeah, right. Best of luck with the tattoos, man. Take care.
Thank you. Good to see you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Rat Nest Podcast. You can catch us every week on YouTube for the video and anywhere you get your podcast for the audio. Go to Nightwatch. I almost said Nightwatch Sticker Co. Rat Nest Sticker Co. for prints, stickers, zines, comics, and more. And check us out on Instagram at Rat Nest Sticker Co. and at Rat Nest Podcast. Jim?
Later.